Story 1. Three-dimensional printing. You start off with a $100 Ender 3 and 1 or 2 spools of basic filament. And before you know it, you have 5 printers and every possible colored filament in existence because maybe one day you'll want to print something in shimmering burgundy or light olive. Story 2. Fishing for shore. One day you're fishing a $30 Walmart combo with a worm and bobber, and the next you're casting tungsten jigs on a several $100 combo from your $1,000 fishing kayak. God help you if you're fly fishing or on the ocean. Story 3. Thrift shopping feels harmless until you start hunting for vintage treasures, and suddenly you are dropping hundreds on rare finds and designer labels. It is a slippery slope of bargains and regret. Story 4. My boyfriend introduced me to Magic the Gathering about 2 months ago, and I thought, oh, these packs and decks aren't terribly expensive. I've spent over $700 in the last 30 days. Story 5. As a kid, I had one board and walked to the beach. The only recurring expense was a bar of wax here and there if you couldn't mooch some off another guy in the lineup. Then it's school or working and you can't afford a flat spell on your days off. So it's travel California, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Hawaii, Costa Rica, and Central America, but you can still get skunked. Plus, now you need more boards for bigger waves, reef and point breaks, wetsuits, and so on. Next, it's on to Australia, Indonesia, Micronesia, and elsewhere, looking for those fabled, uncrowded, consistent waves. You make decisions on where to live so there's at least a chance of good surf at home, moving and then having to work more to carry the increased cost of living near the beach. And your wife, who is no longer the surfer girl you married, doesn't like the fact that you bail for a couple of weeks at a time to the tropics, so you teach the kids to surf, buy them equipment, and take them on trips. And after all that and the thousands of dollars and countless hours you've spent, when you close your eyes you still see that one crystal day when you were 13, out in the water at 40th Street with your best friend, the image of Reed steaming down the line, toes on the nose as you paddle back out for another wave, peeking up just over there. Story 6. Crochet. It's cheap to buy a set of hooks and a ball of yarn to learn, but then you've spent hundreds of dollars on yarn you're never going to use because you have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and you're already on to the next 500 newer and more fun hobbies. Story 7. Fountain pens. One $50 pen and a $25 bottle of ink very quickly have spiraled into hundreds in ink, and thousands in pens, and hundreds in notebooks and accessories. Story 8. You can buy a decent harmonica for $40. But then you need a different key and another, probably all 12. Then some low-tuned ones, maybe special tunings. Then a microphone and an amplifier. Then a better microphone, another amplifier. Maybe you take lessons. Then you start going to jams and other people's gigs. Then, Story 9. I have a hobby farm. It's the most labor-intensive, costly way to maybe break even, but probably operate at a loss each year. Every capital expense takes 10 years' profit to pay off. The only cost-saving part of it is you're too busy to have any other hobbies. Story 10. Card making. You think to yourself, I can't find the perfect Hallmark card. Let me just shuttle over and find the stuff to make it. Then you're elbow deep in stamps, paper, metal cutouts. Now you need somewhere to store it all. Oh wait, what do you write in it that captures exactly what you're hoping to say? You know what? I'll just head to YouTube and watch the content creators who have the dream craft room for the specific hobby that I now love and is basically my whole personality. Heaven forbid you just spend the $10 on a really nice card and call it a day. Story 11. Rats. An expensive one is around £8, but their veterinarian bills add up. And you cannot have just one. They live 1.5 to 3 years but are sick for the last 6 months of that. Story 12. Paintball. One seemingly harmless day with a rental can lead to full automatic guns and fully equipped gear. Not even factoring in daily passes, the gas to drive out to the field, and how expensive the actual paintballs are. Splatting others costs a lot, you know. Story 13. Bullet journaling. You start with a notebook and a pen. Before you know it, you have a fully stocked stationery store at home with brush pens, stickers, washi tape, and stamps. Next, you buy expensive fountain pens and a collection of inks that differ only marginally in shade. Story 14. Running. You start out with a pair of trainers and some gym kit. Then suddenly you have 5 different pairs of trainers for different runs, a Garmin watch, energy gels, a running vest, new running clothes, a massage gun, and the race costs such as entry fee, travel, and accommodation are increasing. Story 15. being an audiophile. It literally starts with someone's first in-ear monitors or first taste of high-resolution music. Then it spirals down to ungodly expensive music players and equipment. The worst part is that it's only you who can hear a difference between an MP3 file and a free lossless audio codec file within your friend group and other relatives. But hey, it's a fun hobby I spiraled down into. Story 16. I collected Grateful Dead stickers for some time. I likely have over 500. Eventually, you want the rare ones you've never seen before. Instead of $4 a sticker, they are $30 a sticker. I guess that's the same with any collection. Story 17. Just about any hobby can become an expensive one. You can get a good chess set and clock for under $100, but once you start entering tournaments, then you'll want to play in one 1,000 miles away with a $500 entry fee and $150,000 in prizes. I recently got into hydroponic gardening. I'm trying not to add up the bills, but if I manage to get tomatoes this winter, they'll probably cost me about $5 each. Story 18. Homebrewing. All you need is a large stock pot, a mesh bag, and a bucket for fermenting. Then it becomes too hard to bottle it, so you need to buy gas bottles, kegs, taps, and a fridge. Then you need to ferment at certain temperatures, so get another fridge. Then a full electric brewing system, water salts, pressure fermentation attachments. Story 19. Running. Oh, you can just go run. Well, running in jeans was uncomfortable. I guess I should get some running pants. Oh darn, my feet hurt. Time for new shoes every 3 months. Oh no, my nipples are bleeding. Time to ditch the cotton shirts. Wait, they're still bleeding? I guess I can get that stuff that looks like deodorant. Okay, I've been doing this for a while. I'll sign up for a 5-kilometer race. C'est $20? At least I get a banana at the end of it. The running app on my phone kind of lacks features. I'll get a fitness tracker. Oh no, the fitness tracker broke. Time for a Garmin. If I can do a 5-kilometer race, I can do a half marathon. Wow, $130. And I have to travel and stay overnight. Story 20. Cooking. Le creuset pour. A few good knives. Microplane zesters. All kinds of kitchen utensils. Food processor, condiment grinder, blender. Ingredients can become expensive these days. Story 21. Art is stupidly cheap to get into. All you really need is a pencil and paper. If you want to be fancy, a $15 sketchbook from Walmart. But if you get trapped on the wrong side of the community, oh my. 10,000 different colors of alcohol markers. The latest and greatest digital drawing tablet. Ceiling-high stacks of sketchbooks that you will never use as far as the eye can see. C'est la vie. Manga collecting. One volume is, what, $20? But suddenly you have over 1,000 volumes, box sets, floor-to-ceiling shelves, posters, body pillows, and about $32,000 in figurines. Story 22. Mycology. Starts cheap and easy to get your foot in the door. Can stay cheap, but the more you get into it, the more you will choose to spend to advance your practices. Story 23. All of them. If there's one thing I've learned in the life of being a curious person, it's that any hobby can very quickly get out of hand if you let it. Every hobbyist I've ever met has at some point said that their particular hobby can become a huge sink once you start getting into either more advanced or more niche aspects. Story 24. Playing an instrument and joining a band begins with a cheap guitar and amplifier. One day, you decide to get some nicer gear, play with pedals, and fall into the tone-chasing pit of buying and selling. Maybe you start collecting guitars. Even without going very high-end or vintage, you can easily walk into a guitar shop and spend $1,000 or more on something mid-level. You join a band, and practice spaces cost money by the hour. You get some gigs, pay for fuel to get there, food, and maybe a few drinks. At a starting level, the fee, if any, is nothing split between all members, and maybe once in a while one might cover costs. However, probably every gig costs more money than you get until a certain level. Want to play original songs and not covers? You probably won't get to that level, you just do it for fun. Maybe you earn some pocket money playing covers at bars or weddings, but you've got the guitar bug and you just spend it on another. Story 25. Amateur radio. Just need one more. Radio, tower, antenna, amplifier, microphone, continuous wave key, spool of coaxial cable, headphones, mast set. For the house. Now, about the car, oh, and the handheld radios to match. Story 26. I don't know if this counts, but musical instruments. A good example is the violin. Your first student violin isn't terrible, but when you move to an intermediate level, you will pay around $50 for each pack of strings. You will pay even more if you buy professional quality violin accessories. Story 27. Biking. You start with a typical Walmart bike, make some friends, and try their bike. It pedals and shifts so much better, so you go out and get a nicer, inexpensive one from the bike shop for 3 times the cost of a Walmart bike. Then you inevitably break something and have to replace it, but you might as well get the better quality part. Before you realize it, half the parts are not stock, and you have put $1,500 into a $400 bike. Story 28. Mineral collecting. You can have a large collection for around $200. Then again, you can also spend $50,000 on just one mineral or trade your Bentley to a dealer for a choice specimen. There's a famous couple who are collectors and essentially let the local city museum borrow pieces for professional display. It doesn't impact their own personal collection because it's nearly over 10,000 individual pieces. The good thing is that if you sell them, especially ones from certain closed mines, you do get most, if not all, of your money back. Story 29. Gardening. Spend $500 on equipment, water, and hundreds of hours of my time to produce approximately $40 worth of produce. Probably less. Tastes pretty good, though. Story 30. Playing music. If you end up enjoying it and sticking with it, your instrument can become inadequate extremely quickly. There is always a path to new instruments and production techniques, and you can spend big bucks chasing the dragon. Story 31. Every hobby that sounds cheap? I honestly don't know any hobby that can be cheap, unless watching Netflix is your hobby. Of course, almost every hobby can be done in a cheap way, but you'll always strive for more and better. Story 32. Softball. I used to play baseball in high school, so some recreational league softball will keep me moving. I need a good glove, $200. I want a bat with a lot of power, $300 minimum. League fees, a bag, spikes, and suddenly I need a better bat, so I'll bite the bullet and get the $500 one that will make me better. Celebrate with the team, $85 on beers, and so on. Story 33. Trading card games. To start, you just need a few cards. To actually compete and be good at it, you need a lot more and probably a few pretty expensive ones. Story 34. Running. I just need my tennis shoes. Wait, why do my feet, knees, and hips hurt? Maybe I should buy some good running shoes. This is fun. I should sign up for a 5K. Wow, that was fun. I'm gonna train for a marathon. What's this about Zone 2 training? I should get a watch and a heart rate monitor. Do I need another pair of shoes? How about a running backpack? I could use another pair of running shoes. When is my next race? I should travel out of state for races. What's this about 50 marathons in 50 states? What is ultra running? I should look into an ultra race. Story 35. I started coin collecting. You can get into it super cheap just by looking through loose change. Before you know it, you're shopping on eBay at midnight buying mint state 70 silver coins in bulk. Story 36. Frisbee golf gets you because you just keep wanting more and more discs, and they are only like $25 a piece. So you're like, what's one more? Or one more? Next thing you know, you've got like 200. Story 37. I got really into book collecting and into science fiction and fantasy in 2021 or 2022 or so and bought a lot of books, but it only started with a couple of books, and then I was buying books at thrift shops, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, everywhere I could find specific books I wanted. Now I use a Kindle and I still have my books because they are aesthetically pleasing to see, but I do not buy nearly as much anymore because of Libby and other apps that make it really cheap if not free to read. Story 38. Learning a language for fun. There are free resources at the library, free applications, as well as YouTube, and a lot of times you can watch your same shows in the language at no extra cost. What could go wrong? Well, now you want the premium version of your application. Oh, this YouTuber I like has paid lessons? Well, I do really want to get better, sure, why not? Okay, but now I want to get even better, so I really need a private one-on-one tutor. So you're saying the best way to learn a language is to go to a country that speaks it? Then there's the final stage. I know a guy who reached this stage with Japanese. He ended up moving to Japan for 4 years. I mean, maybe it's not more expensive since you need to pay for a home here or there, but I mean, come on. That's quite the lifestyle creep. His Japanese is really good though. Story 39. Knitting. Some projects might require many pairs of needles, and I refuse to knit with anything but the finest quality needles. Addy brand. These are about $20 to $25 a pair. I'm not fussy. It's just that the cheaper needles hurt my hands and are not good. And even worse, just because the pattern says you need a particular needle size doesn't mean that's actually the size you'll need. You have to check your gauge first, which could require many needle sizes if you're not lucky. Also, quality yarn in natural fibers is incredibly expensive. A skein of wool or alpaca, for example, could cost $15 to $35. You'd need about 15 skeins of some yarns to make any substantial project like a sweater, depending on the yardage of the skein. Prices are even higher since COVID-19, which is a given, but now most yarn is unobtainable. I have stopped knitting altogether.